Hey everyone. So this video is called Time Capsule. So the name implies exactly what it's there for. This video is not for the people of my generation, my time. This is for the generation that is being born now, which is 2025. And when the lessons that came through, well, I guess I first should say, my name is David Mezier and I'm a channel. Um, if you're finding this video, there should be a whole list of series of channel sessions that have been done that's there waiting for you. So when the messages first started coming through, I've been channeling since I was 17 years old, and a lot of things changed after I went through a Reiki fire initiation, big energy shift for me. And one of the ones in the group that I work with came forward as the new Speaker of the House. And his name is Théial. Um, and started this as an experiment, the series. It wasn't looked to be a series. It wasn't looked to actually go anywhere. I was just trying to learn the energy and have it come through and have my husband question him and really push the envelope so that I could see what this new energy was about. How do they teach? And what's their mode as far as um, speciality with information, and learn to adjust to his energy and his personality coming through my body. And one of the things that surprised me when the very, very first lesson for conversations, part one with him, was that he had announced that the bulk of these lessons wasn't for people in my time period. It was for the generation that would be coming in, and that you guys would find the information, and it wasn't there to teach you, it was there to confirm that which you already know. That you guys would come in knowing and would need some type of confirmation to affirm what it is that you already know, as a way of encouragement, as a way of saying, absolutely, right on, follow what you know to be true. And I was a bit shocked by that. Um, in fact, said that for the lessons that I do that have come through in the bulk of work that I've done, that it wouldn't really take off in my generation. They wouldn't really understand it. And that it wasn't until you guys that you would find it. And that it would be there as a tool for you. And I got to say that then and even now, it makes no sense. You know, how is a YouTube channel going to sit there for that long, for when you guys are ready to actually be able to hear it and understand it and have it be there as as a tool. um there's so many changes happening on this planet right now, and so many things in question, and so many things you know looking to become unstable. It doesn't make any sense to me. But this is me being a channel and saying, hey, you know just do the work and get out of the way and don't assume. So this time capsule message is actually for you. And part of that is because at this point, with what's happening here on this planet, Spirit has always told me that there would be a bunch of changes. Um, they told me this in my 20s. I knew when COVID was going to hit, earth changes to begin, um, the political unrest, all these different aspects. And a lot of it, while they told me the nature of it, when it actually manifested into what it is, I'm quite surprised by it. Um, wasn't the way I thought it was going to be, but they've hit right up to the year that it was going to happen and been on target. And so, with a lot of the changes that are going on right now, this is the point where it really kicks off. into more of the more serious stuff to really deal with. So it's a question of, in my mind, how long will it remain stable? How long will I have the opportunity to sit in front of a camera and do this? It was my great hope that I would be able to take what they've taught me and successfully help raise consciousness with my generation to make it easier for your generation with the work that are coming in to do, because it is monumental. And I have to say, at this point in time, you know that has it is not going to happen. um my generation is not taking to the information, not interested, and it hasn't really taken off. So, you know, with the changes that are coming, if everything adds up to what it is that I see but hasn't physically happened yet, um, but I know that it's about to, I figured now is a good time to go ahead and really do this video for you, for whenever it is that you actually stumble across it. And what let me really know, it's always a trail of breadcrumbs when spirit tells me things. I tend not to take it at face value. I keep an open mind, but then I look for the trail of breadcrumbs, and inevitably it appears. Little things that come up that show what they were talking about was true until, boom, there it is in physicality. There's the evidence of it. And they had said a long time ago with you guys, as well as from other channels, people that channel as well, um, that I hate to use the word, but advanced souls, high level souls, would be coming in at this time to really help balance the consciousness of humanity, blah, 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 blah. But the end result is that who would be coming in to take form, and this is the way that, in the words that not the Théial put it, you know, we are not here to heal this world. We are here to heal our perceptions of it. And we're at a boiling point in this world where hatred has been on the uprise and uptick for a long time. And it's really coming to a boiling point. And he said, you know, what would attract high level advanced souls to come in but that environment? Because it would be the absolute opportunity of a lifetime to be able to stand within that energy and really be able to work out your perceptions of the physicality and be able to have the mindset to be able to course through it and help at that time period for what was needed most. And, to say that, and, why didn't they come in earlier? And he said it's kind of like wanting to go to a fine dining restaurant and walking into Target. There's nothing there for you to buy. What we have created in an environment of such absolute hatred, of each other, going into physicality and, physically going after one another, being afraid of one another, attacking one another, attacking our own country, attacking our own, systems in play, all of it for it's all or nothing. It'll be my way or I'll destroy it all. And having the sides go after each other and not value life, not value the future generations, not value what we're doing to the planet, coming up with excuse after excuse after excuse, and not even understanding the basics of the golden rule: do not hurt another, and have that fly out the window. Um, I just listened to before I got on here to do this, there was someone on social media talking about, a great number of drones heading to Moscow right now, armed with missiles to attack them. And he was talking about it in a way like, it was an NFL football game. Subscribe and listen to me and so I can update you on what's happening play by play. And I'm like, people are about to die. And it's the entertainment value of it, was the feel of it. And don't get me wrong, we go ahead and say, oh, those poor people, I send prayers. Oh, those poor people. But, the real intention behind it is an actual watching it like it's some type of sports game. And the casualties don't really matter because we don't really stand up and try to stop it. We've got several areas that are, flaring up on the planet with war, and that's nothing new for us. Um, but to the level of depravity that's been happening in the way that we treat those we are at war with, you know, is very unlike what we've dealt with before, in my opinion. Um, and the level of people allowing themselves to be entertained by this and just lose all connection to the human lives that are involved with it, besides the normal religious platitudes and prayers, thoughts and prayers. Um, yeah, this is the perfect environment for you guys to come into because if you want to really demonstrate and you want to really work out that you're here to heal your perceptions of the world, not the world, this is a great, they're right. This is the biggest opportunity of lifetimes to be here. And with your announcement, when they said that you guys would be coming in, um, and the difference as far as level of awareness that you will have compared to us, um, we've had a string of, within astrology, major conjunctions, trines, things going on with the stars that we haven't seen in a long, 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 long time. Um, it's always a repetition. It always goes around and around. So it's always just, comes back around. But the intensity of the connections have been nothing we've ever seen before. As far as certain planets moving into certain houses, the conjunctions that they're creating, the timing of all of them being in retrograde, the, you know, when you understand the astrology chart on a deeper level and seeing the connection of the triangles being connected across the chart to create different influences. Astrologers right now during this time period are really freaking out about these effects and what this means on our world and society. And as they should. For an astrologer, this is it. It's not going to get better than this. This is what you've trained for. You're reporting the major news of what's going on in astrology, besides a general daily forecast. Um, because once it comes out of play, it's not going to come back in play for a long, long, long time. So I could see the total excitement. But what really occurred to me was that it's not really a matter of how it's going to affect our society. It's going to affect, um, it's not just that focus about us. These are your birth charts. These great conjunctions and combinations was your birth charts. This is when you're coming in. And the question comes into play, what type of chart would you need if you're a really advanced soul to be supported in physicality? And if this is not it, I don't know what would be. So once again, they said that it would be coming, and the stars are in alignment perfectly for you guys to come in to support a birth chart, to support that, that supposed advanced soul. And so there's one more breadcrumb going ahead and showing the fact that, they were right all along. So one of the things before I go into the videos that you're going to find, that I also wanted to talk about was, you know, looking at the mess that we made of this planet. uh, Try not to judge us too harshly, and that's saying a lot. Try not to judge us too harshly. We're coming out of the age of ego, the age of fear, and when you look at this from a purely logical standpoint, nothing we did or are doing makes sense. None of it would lead to having really great respect for us as a people. And I guess in that aspect, nor should it. Um, but at the same time, we're living in the age of ego, in the age of fear. And so many of who is on this planet right now, it's running rampant, and we're paying the price for having not been a way of being for us. When as the new energy vibration came in, it just boiled over all those pots to the point that we can't even see straight. It's happening so fast. And, you know, we did our best. We meant well, but, you know, what gets built up, if it's not within a new energy, will eventually go ahead and fade out for the new. And, unfortunately, you're dealing with the consequences of that. And while I think I have an idea, I've seen, it's not in physicality, so I don't really know what you're dealing with. Um, but understand, as a people, we meant well. You know, there's a lot as far as hopes and dreams and beautiful works that we've created. We just weren't able to live up to the expectations of it. And I wish I could look you in the eye and give you a clear reason why. And I can't. You know, having lived in this time period, having seen all this, being aware, having, them as my companion since I was seven, all my life. Um, this has been a difficult life. It really has, in ways that I never would have really thought it would be difficult like that. Between you and me, I'll be very grateful once it's done and my work here is done. Um, yeah. So, but let's talk about the videos you're going to find and what they are, so that you can actually hear it from me, from that standpoint of what their purpose is, what their intentions was, and what you can get out of it as a tool. So, it started with the conversation series, part one and two with Théial, and it centers around my husband Mansour, and because he was the focal point for it, and remained the focal point throughout all of it. And within that series, Nathia was very clear. He talked about our weaknesses, our issues, right out in the open. Because normally that's not the way that it works. You put your best face forward and don't let people see your weaknesses here during this time period. And that's not the way that he did it. He talked about whatever the faults was that was going on within realms of boundaries and respect, but kept it very open and honest. In fact, he was very insistent on that. And I think he said this in a couple of meetings, that the purpose of the conversation was not to hide the warts and the problems. The purpose of the conversation was to show them so that people can actually see a mind evolve, a mind grow conscious. And so within that, you'll see Mansour argue with him, debate with him. Um, there were several major issues that the two of them went together when they during their conversations. And so the benefit of it is really going ahead and showing how a mind evolves and learns to shine in its own light and the struggle that it goes through to be able to believe that. That's the big one. The struggle that the mind goes through to believe it. There are lessons that they gave Mansour that they repeated over and over and over and over and over again. And Mansour fighting it every step of the way until something clicks and he gets it and he understands it and he sees it. And it's a very different way than how we view it here during this time period, because the way people look at spirituality is that you go to a class, you have the experience, and that solves it. I go to the healing, or the event, and I have the experience, and that's supposed to solve it. It's a microwave approach. Um, it's not really taking into account the need for the tool of time, the illusion of time, that we don't get it on the first bounce. In fact, we usually have to bounce several times before we get it, and that's being graceful. So the conversation series touches on a lot of different subjects. Um, the first series is really about him coming through and developing a language with the two of us. And so he's going to lay down some concepts there, about karma, about the emotional body, about the purpose of thoughts and emotions, um, creating thought forms. I mean, there was just so many. In the first channel sessions, they were about 2 hours long. And so we had to split them in two. But when you really go through it and listen, there's so many gems in there about understanding the mind, that this generation just doesn't have the patience to actually listen and hear. Um, Hopefully yours does. But you'll find a lot of gems in there that will really go ahead and help strengthen and understand the concept of the mind. Once we got past the first series of the conversations, there was a concepts, their intentions had words that when they said the words, we understood the intention. The first conversation was kind of sloppy, saying, no, no, that's not what we're intending. You're using the words the way you think they mean. Here's what we mean. And learning to calibrate and understand the intention behind the words and seeing it from a different perspective at that point. From there, he branched out and went into the emotional body series where he talks about karma, the emotional body, free will, the ego, and which was finally being able to go ahead and take the concepts from the first conversations and now actually start using them into a broader perspective of working with the mind. And it's coming from a perspective of how we view it, confronting how we perceive those tools. We haven't gotten to their purpose yet. We're just at how we actually are using them and confronting the results that we get from that. Then he went into a session for true will. Um, And that was where he started really wrapping up. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I skipped. He also did a series called The Basics. And this series was about understanding the basics that you have to have in order to align your mind. And getting right down to it is, what is it that we really need to know and understand and point and process? Um, that one was really educational. There'd be subjects in there like intention versus words and understanding how we miscreate because what we secretly intend has sometimes nothing to do with the words that we say. And with the intellect, we pay attention to the words, not the intention. So there's a lot of really neat concepts in there, um, for understanding. And then came the subject on true will, which was taking everything that we had talked about so far and now saying, okay, we talked about, say, for example, judgment and how that works in our everyday life, where we're using it to project onto other people as a way of measuring to make less than or greater than or equals to know our standing in society. Just as an example, you know, well, we've discussed that in the True Will series. Now it looks at judgment and say, what is its actual proper tool and use? Why was it created? And what is it actually supposed to be doing? Same thing with the ego, same thing with other aspects. And so it takes everything that we had learned up to that point, and then we understand and worked on what we've created with it, how we're actually using them, why it creates misperceptions, why it creates unalignment with the mind. And now looking at the concepts again of saying, what was their original intention and how do they actually work? And bringing in that concept to really review what it's all about. There should be, by the time you get, to find these, a different series on there, um, from Archangel Anathiel. That is, um, the new Speaker of the House. And she's very different than Nathiel completely. And I can't tell you as of yet what her purpose and what, I know it's going to be. She's has stated that the lessons will be about being, you know, while in the body, looking at it from the side of divine and fine tuning the physical to bring through expression into physicality, the actual intention and purpose of the body. We're not physical having a spiritual experience, we're a spiritual spirit having a physical experience. And so it's finally going over to the other end of the telescope. Not the L dealt with the small end, the separated, limited self looking through the small end of the telescope and seeing the larger world and universe beyond. She's going to be dealing with it from the standpoint of being the universe looking through the large lens and seeing the small, limited self and realigning and recalibrating for the purpose of being. I could tell you that much. Um, Whether those lessons are meant for you or not, with intention, she hasn't said. I just started working with her. So, but not the L did clearly say that these lessons were here for you. The purpose of them, once more, is not to necessarily teach you something. They're here to confirm what you already know. And, I'll say from the work that I've done of seeing what it is that you're supposed to be doing, your purpose, not me telling you it, but just being able to see, catch a glimpse of what that purpose is. It's the most important thing that, um, this planet needs. And I could tell you, no matter what, you know, on this. on this planet, generation after generation comes in and has a purpose. You know, one of the last generations to come through, their thing was breaking down the stereotypes, for example, of male and female, and looking at it from a much more spiritually advanced point of view, that you can switch, that it doesn't fall into the extreme categories that we've created for it. And I'm, because being a channel, you know, not Théial can come through me with a male energy, but he equally could be channeling through someone else on this planet to bring through information that works with him and be a she. You know, spirit does not recognize gender. Spirit recognizes expressive energy and plays with both. And that is truly being spirit. So to me, this new generation was closer to the truth than we are. But when this generation came in and went ahead and started manifesting this, it created a huge reaction and backlash, um, which every new generation that comes in attempts to make the change that they came to make. Generally, that's the reaction: is don't be different, be more like us. And so it created a huge stink, and of course, diluted the message that they came to give. And with each consecutive generation, for the time that I've been here, I've watched come through, they've always come in with a purpose. And when that purpose starts taking off, the generations that are here do everything in their power to stop the message. And this is one more time, one more way of not trusting God, not trusting the process. And if there's a change because of fear of being wrong, then that's a threat to me. So what do? I maintain that my reality stays the same to match what I believe. So it validates me and my existence. And as much as we say we're open minded and that we, believe in diversity, we've squelched every generation that has come through for their message. We don't really believe in diversity. We don't really trust in God. We don't really believe, you know, in following its will. Because when you have a mass change go through like that, where else do you think it came from? So in this situation, this leads me to you, because Spirit had said one to my generation, the most important thing, we are not the new age, but we can be the deciders of the new age. And the decision was for once in our lives, think of someone else besides ourselves. And what they're referring to was your generations coming in. And the advice was to take the best of our hopes, to take the best of our dreams, and shield you with them. That we are not to tell you who you are. You will come in knowing who you are. Our job is to finally get out of the way and support it. Because the work and the changes that you are to do is essential. And that if you were to lose hope, if you were to lose your direction, if you were to become confused with your message, that it would create a dark, dark period for humanity indeed, for generations to come. And I wish, you know, that I had been more successful in waking my generation up, getting them to sign on with this message, and to be there to support you in the work that you are already starting to do. But I did the best I could. I can't break free will. They have to be willing. And so the only thing recourse I have is to tell you these series of videos that are here for you is the best of my hopes, the best of my dreams, to shield you for your time of change. Don't allow any of us to make you lose your message. Don't allow any of us to try to convince you you're crazy. Don't allow any of us to stop you with the changes you know need to be made. Do what you came to do. Because whether my generation and the previous ones before that realize it or not, you are our future parents. And so if it's not done by you, we all suffer the consequences. And so it could be very easy to be disheartened by what we've done and how we've done it. And I'm going to say, think better of us, because eventually we're going to be your children. Don't continue the karma like we have. Learn and be better than us. Everything depends on that. So have heart. Follow your vision. Know your will. Do not take your information from this planet. Take it from where you came from and follow what needs to be done. Because we're not separated. We need each other. And we are all depending on each other. And you came in at this point in time to be the ones to carry the message and carry it through. And if no one else from my generation is here to say, follow your dreams, follow your hope, this collection is there for you. Thank you.